London. I wander through each chartered street, near where the chartered Thames does flow, and mark in every face I meet marks of weakness, marks of woe. In every cry of every man, in every infant's cry of fear, in every voice, in every ban, the mind-forged manacles I hear. How the chimney sweepers cry, every blackening church appalls, and the hapless soldier's sigh runs in blood down palace walls. But most through midnight streets I hear how the youthful harlot's curse blasts the newborn infant's tear, and blights with plagues the marriage hearse. The title of this poem being London indicates to us the fact that it's the capital city of England. It is usually home to royals, and it is a very busy and high industrialised area. So going straight into the first sentence of the poem, reading, I wander through each chartered street, near where the chartered Thames does flow. Here we are instantly met with a first-person narrator, meaning that this is more of a personalised experience rather than a viewpoint. The repetition of chartered shows that it's mapped out, that Blake wants us to understand that it's not just one part of the city that's affected. Chartered, it's mapped out. It's almost planned that the whole city is affected, that so many more people than just a coincidence have been affected by this. Near where the chartered Thames does flow, however, the Thames being a river in London is a blatant representation that nature has gotten to the point where even that is under the control of humans. The River Thames flows straight through London, and in this poem, by saying that it's chartered, it's almost as if we've modified that, and we are the reason the nature of it is changing, that we have affected it in some way. And so it then goes on to say, and mark in every face I meet marks of weakness, marks of woe. The repetition of marks shows feelings of bleakness, and it may also suggest to everyone that these marks are symbolic of experiences that people have been through. So it says, and mark in every face I meet. To have a mark in your face is like a scar or a spot or some form of representation of the traumas that have been in occurrence to lead you to that point. It then goes on to repeat, in every cry of every man, in every infant's cry of fear, in every voice, in every ban, the mind-forged manacles I hear. Here, the repetition of in every cry and every man, it really shows the effects that this despair has had, and really emphasises the fact that it's not just one or two people, it's not just a small group of people, it's not a minority, it's every single person in London. Every single person is feeling this despair. And the fact that he used infant's cry of fear, the fact that an infant, a newborn, a baby, is crying out in fear, this really presents to the reader that this may be a vivid, hellish experience. The idea that something has been mind forged is a metaphor for emotional weakness, showing that there are so many things going on and it's all just due to humanity's weakness. But it's not just humanity's weakness so much as it is the riches, the royals in London, they aren't sharing anything with those of different classes. So, for example, it says here, in every cry of every man, and every infant's cry of fear. By then comparing them to mind-forged manacles, this just shows that no matter what age they are still struggling. They are still having to go through this horrendous experience. So, moving on, it says, how the chimney sweepers cry, every blackening church appalls, and the hopeless soldier's sigh runs in blood down palace walls. So, here we can see that children were made to clean. Chimney sweepers, they were usually young boys. And so this is a very emotional description of child labour, and the fact that children were having to work shows just the difference in society compared to, say, today. So then to move on and say every blackening church appalls may represent his anger toward all forms of power. Blackening can connote to corruption in some form of way. So the power brought to humanity by the church has been taken over. It's been completely destroyed because humanity is not keeping up with that faith. They are not sharing the respect that is needed. It then moves on to say hapless soldier's sigh runs in blood down palace walls. So this may hint to the French Revolution, but this metaphor symbolises the death of the soldiers, and that even this palace, which is meant to be a place of luxury and safety, there is death. So this connotes to the ideas that those of higher classes, just because they have money and they seem happy, there is still death. There are still negative impacts. There is still bad things that go on within those walls. To have blood running down palace walls must mean something explosive has happened. In the final stanza, it reads, but most through midnight streets I hear how the youthful harlot's curse blasts the newborn infant's tear and blights with plagues the marriage hearse. So, how the youthful harlot's curse. This shows us the contrast between the innocence of youth and the sordidness of prostitution. Harlot's curse is actually slang for prostitutes or lower class women. So, for them to be compared to newborns really does emphasise that contrast between the innocence and sordidness. So, the fact that we are instantly met with this newborn infant's tear just shows that when children are born in this area, they're just born into a broken world. They lose their innocence immediately. They have no choice about where they're born. They have no choice about what society they're being born into. They have no choice about where they're going to go from that point, because they've been straight up just brought into this world where society is not straightforward. Everything is complicated and everything is in a negative decline. Blake ends the poem with an oxymoron. It links the happy, positive images of marriage with the juxtaposing image of death. It suggests that everything's been destroyed, everything's been affected, nothing of any extent of being pure or innocent remains. Almost as though trying to attempt to find your happiness, no matter what you do, whether that be getting married, it's only going to end negatively. Like, you will never find that happiness truly. You will just find that hearse, that death, that negative ending.